Welcome back to She Rises Daily, Emerging You in 10. I'm your host, Doc Shelley, here to bring you your daily dose of inspiration, empowerment, and growth. Have you ever looked back at an older version of yourself and thought, I don't even recognize that person anymore? Maybe you handled conflict differently, stayed silent when you wanted to speak, said yes when you wanted to say no, needed everyone else's approval, doubted yourself more than you do now. At first glance, it can feel like you've been a completely different person. And I don't actually think that's what happened. I don't think growth changes who you are. I think growth reveals more of who you've always been. Today, I'd like to explore an idea that has changed the way I think about personal development. Maybe your greatest work isn't becoming someone else. Maybe it's becoming more you. Growth doesn't replace your personality. It refines it. Somewhere along the way, many of us begin believing that growth means becoming a different person, becoming more outgoing, more confident, more patient, more disciplined, more like someone we admire. Think about a sculptor, though, for a moment. They don't create a beautiful sculpture by endlessly adding random pieces. They remove what doesn't belong. Growth often works the same way. It doesn't erase your personality. It removes the fear that kept your personality hidden. It removes the insecurity that caused you to shrink. It removes old beliefs that convinced you to play smaller than you were created to be. The healthiest version of you isn't someone new. It's the version of you that's no longer being directed by fear. Your strengths mature as you do. The qualities that make you uniquely you don't disappear as you grow. They mature. Curiosity becomes discernment. Drive becomes purpose. Compassion becomes healthy boundaries. Confidence turns into humility. Directness becomes courage wrapped in kindness. Your strengths don't need to be replaced. They do need room to grow. Sometimes the very qualities you've worried were too much simply needed wisdom, experience, and self-awareness to become some of your greatest gifts. Growth isn't replacing who you are. It's helping the best parts of you grow up. I love a coaching moment when someone says, I feel like I'm becoming a different person. I will usually smile and ask, or are you finally giving yourself permission to become more of the person you've always been? That question often changes the conversation because when we reflect back, we realize the courage, it was always there, the kindness, it was always there, the leadership was there, the creativity was always there. They were simply buried beneath fear. They were buried beneath self-doubt and beneath expectations. Growth uncovered those qualities. Stop trying to fix what needs direction. So many of us spend years trying to fix ourselves. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Instead of, what's wrong with me? What if we asked, how can I better direct what's already right about me? Your passion doesn't need to disappear. It needs direction. Your ambition, it doesn't need to shrink. It needs purpose. Your sensitivity does not need to harden. It needs some boundaries. Your confidence doesn't need to turn into arrogance. It needs some humility. Sometimes growth isn't fixing who you are. It's learning how to steward who you are. Becoming yourself takes courage. As children, and often well into adulthood, we learn how to adapt. We learn what earns approval. We learn what avoids conflict. We learn what keeps us safe. And those adaptations weren't weaknesses. They were intelligent responses to the environments we were in. We honor them. They helped you get there. But don't confuse those survival strategies with your identity. Growth eventually asks a different question. Who am I when I no longer need those old protective patterns? That question takes courage, because becoming more yourself often means letting go of versions of yourself that once kept you safe and no longer help you grow. Here's your reflection question for today. What part of who you are has been waiting patiently beneath fear, self-doubt, or old expectations, simply waiting for permission to be seen? And your power thought: growth does not create a new you. It uncovers the parts of you that fear taught you to hide. The world doesn't need a copy of someone else. It needs the healthiest version of you, the version that's less driven by fear, less controlled by old stories, less limited by expectations that were never truly yours. Growth is not about becoming unrecognizable. It is about becoming unmistakably you. And that journey doesn't happen overnight. It happens one courageous choice at a time. This week, notice one moment when you are tempted to ask, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, pause and ask, "What strength is trying to emerge here, and how can I give it better direction?" You may discover that what you've been trying to fix has actually been waiting to be refined. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of She Rises Daily, Emerging You in 10. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who's working so hard to become better that they've forgotten to notice how much of their best self is already here. Until next time, remember, your greatest growth won't come from becoming someone else. It will come from having the courage to become more fully yourself.